there's a nice little bit of clickbait. Mouth washing was popular for a minute, wasn't it? So I'll stick that in the thumbnail and I'll make a video with nothing to do with mouth washing whatsoever. Well, I'm painting a little guy with bandages on his face with one eye sort of bulging out. So it's going to look like that, isn't it? It's stylistically similar to that. It's not referencing it. This isn't in any way a reference to mouth washing. I just thought it looked similar. It's hard to avoid, isn't it? You paint bandages on a face with an eye looking all grotesque and horrid as it pokes out through said bandages. One game gets popular that has that as one of its sort of distinct images. It's going to look like that, but it's not that. It's not that at all. It's another fucking goblin. Another goblin. That's all I do. I paint goblins, I draw goblins, and then I draw some more goblins and I paint more goblins too. And I'll continue to do it forever and ever and ever because I don't give a shit, because I like them. They're fun. They're fun to draw, they're fun to paint, they're fun to smell and taste. I like the feeling of putting them on my tongue and holding them in my mouth as they dissolve like delicious little green treats inside of me. I like them a lot. And so I'm painting another one. Wow. Bloody wow. Hooray for bloody goblins. This is part 3 in my ongoing series of Goblin Collector art card collection series of cards, Goblin art on cards that you can collect. Goblin fuckers, number 3. This guy's called Burgo. Burgo the Bruised. He's all bruised and bloody and bumpy. So he's all bandaged up. Because he's like Mr. Bump from the Mr. Men. Is it Mr. Bump, the little blue fella, all bandaged up, all blue and bruised and bumped? Mr. Bump got bumped and now he's bandaged up. All of his bruised bumps on his bumbling buffoonery body. Blue balls, ball bags and penis. About 4 or 5 layers of highlighting going into the skin of this goblin, which is quite a few. Normally 3 or 4 is typical, but 4 or 5, I just felt it needed just a little bit extra, because a lot of the detail is hidden, of course, under the bandages. So I sort of, as I was painting the skin, felt it needed to be highlighted enough to sort of show through the bandages. Of course, I say a lot of the detail is hidden away. The bandages themselves are detail, and they are quite detailed visually, so there is still detail. It's not the typical goblin flesh detail that would normally be there. A little bit of purple under the eye and on the tip of the nose, sort of purpley pink, just to make those look a little bit more blood filled, have blood closer to the skin. Though you will see later on, I'll go in with a red ballpoint pen to sort of add to that effect. But you'll see that when I get there, I guess. Brown for the bandages, to give a base coat, like an undercoat, like a mid-tone to work atop when painting the bandages, but also just blocking them in, just painting in the hecking bandages, just so I can see where to put the highlights, leaving little gaps and lines here and there just to sort of guide myself whilst I paint the bandages, because like I said, with there being kind of a loss of detail with regards to the skin of the goblin, I have to make up for that by painting the bandages in such a way that I'm still maintaining the physical form, the physical properties of the body, and the bone structure and musculature of the goblin underneath the bandages. So you can see it already as I'm going in with this first layer of highlights on the bandages, trying to keep in mind, like on the nose, where the nostril and the top of the nose go in towards the end, where they sort of join like together a bit. Trying to keep the cheek looking raised, the sort of the bumps on and around the chin, the brow, and such. And those will, of course, become more prominent as I add lighter highlights as I go along, leaving gaps to try to keep the form visible. I don't want to just highlight the entirety of the bandages, so I leave gaps, leave the brown showing through, and you can see in some places I'm sort of trying to show the layering of bandages. There's sort of crisscrossing lines here and there, but I'm not too worried about defining the individual bandages themselves right now, because I will go in with some ink later on and basically just put lines where the bandages are, and that will cover that base, and that will take care of that, and that will be that, and that's all fine with that. I really like the bandage on the ear, just because it's quite sort of funny and cute having a little bandaged goblin ear. But also, if you could see where I've like highlighted it, highlanded it. So on the sort of the bridge, the top of the ear, it highlights, and then it sort of dips into the ear, following the sort of the dip into the ear, into the lobe, and then highlights again just on the bottom, and then shadow again just on the bottom of that bottom bit, just so it looks good. I'm happy with that. It's probably my favourite part of the entire little painting, is that little the ear bandage, that little ear bandage. Some details in the eye and the teeth and stuff, of course, just whatever. More highlights on more of the bandages. As you can see, trying to keep the flowing of the structure of the form of the nose, the cheeks, the fingers and such. Trying to keep in mind very, very basic shadows, like this side of the hand would be a bit more in shadow than that side. The ends of the fingers are sort of bent and curved down, so they'll be a bit more in shadow, whereas the top of the fingers be lighter, trying to accentuate the planes of the structure of the parts of the body and all the bits and stuff. Green for the background, quite a garish green, rather than not a garish green. I wanted it to stand out from the green of the skin, and I didn't have necessarily a particular plan with the background of this one. Like the last one I painted had an explosion in the background, whereas this one's simple by comparison. But with the pink highlighter, which I not entirely sure why I used, but I felt like using a pink highlighter right at the start. It's nice that the pink does not necessarily show. There's not like bright pink here and there, but it kind of bleeds through the more translucent layers of paint, like the green in the background. And I like that because it adds a sort of variation in tone and texture and stuff to the piece, and that's good. Probably. You don't want everything to be just flat, same, similar tones all the way through, do you? No, you pissing don't. Outlines. I feel like I'm sort of. Sometimes I want to outline the whole thing in with a brush. Sometimes I want to outline the whole thing with pen, the ballpoint pen. It's completely down to how I feel at the time and how I feel would best represent the painting I'm working on. And at this particular time, for this particular piece, as I was painting it, I felt that a brush and a dark paint was the way to go for the bulk of the outlines. A red ballpoint pen, just to add in some bloody blood marks, which is good because as opposed to like a paint or a paint marker or something, the ballpoint pen, the ink's a little bit more sort of translucent, and you can use it sort of in conjunction with the paint that you're drawing on top of. it can leave like nice, somewhat blended red marks, as opposed to if I just lay down red paint on top of that, especially because it's acrylic, it might look a bit heavy and blotchy, which is not necessarily what I was going for. So there's bits of red, just sort of like a couple of cuts on his arm, his lip and around his eye and stuff, just to add a bit more blood from within, showing on top. Some blood on the bandages, some highlights on the side of the face, a final little highlightened touch on the background, just again more texture, more tone, and that's bloody that. Isn't that brilliant? Aren't I amazing? Shower me with praise, please. Please, I need it, please. Like I said, this is part 3 of my ongoing series of Goblin collector cards, the Goblin Fuckers cards. And if you're watching this, then right now you can go to patreon.com/ewan. If you are not signed up, it's only $1 a month to subscribe, and you can interact with the post that I made about this card, and you can get it and the others sent to you for free. Not technically for free, because you have to subscribe for money, but then if you consider that subscription its own separate payment, then anything after that is basically free. So these are basically free because I want you to have nice things that I've made, because I make nice things and I want you to have my nice things in your hands. The end.